We're going to get started in just another minute or two, so please hold on. Thank you. So Nick, I think we can go ahead and get started. Yeah. Does that sound good? Okay.
Sounds
good.
Hi.
Alrighty. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Global Methane Initiative's 2021 Biogas Subcommittee Kickoff meeting. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Kathy McGurl with Tetra Tech, and I'm here virtually with my colleague, Jamie Figler, and we are providing contractor assistance for today's call. So before we begin, I'm going to review quickly a few housekeeping tips. So Nick, if you want to go to the next slide. The screen capture presented here reflects the Microsoft Teams platform. So these features are usually available for you up in the upper right corner of your window or screen. So my first tip is to please mute your microphone unless you are presenting or talking or we call upon you to speak. If you're calling in today using a phone line, press the *6 to mute your phone. So we invite you to turn on your camera. We've got a nice group here today. So if you're comfortable turning on your camera and everyone can see you, please do that. We've got a couple of interactive discussions scheduled throughout the hour, so we invite you to use the raise your hand feature, or you can enter questions using the chat pane. So if you don't have the raise your hand feature, just send us a message in the chat saying, I have something to say, or I'm raising my hand, and we'll call on you to speak. So if you need any help today during the call, you can send an email to the GMI Secretariat at asg@globalmethane.org, and we're happy to help you. So I'm very pleased to now introduce Nick Elger, who will officially kick off this meeting. Nick is a co-chair of the GMI Biogas Subcommittee representing the United States. So Nick, I'm turning this over to you now.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. And welcome everyone, and thank you so much for joining. It's great to have you all on today's Biogas Subcommittee call. At the outset of the call today, I wanted to just start by saying a few words to open the meeting and pass it along to our other co-chairs to do the same. Today's meeting, we wanted to accomplish a few things. We wanted to refamiliarize everyone with GMI, our mission, and where we're at as a subcommittee and what we've been working on. But more importantly, we want to discuss the future of the subcommittee with you all and how we can together develop a collective vision for the subcommittee. All of us are on today's call and part of the biogas subcommittee because methane in the biogas sector is important to our work, and all of our countries have signed on to the Paris Climate Agreement. And I have an obligation from the United States, as I imagine all of you do as well, to help our country meet our targets. And the Global Methane Initiative and this subcommittee is really designed to be a forum for us to learn from each other and to share ideas and to share information, best practices, and policy recommendations for mitigating methane. And it's really an opportunity for us all to work together to help reduce methane emissions from the biogas sectors and help our countries meet our commitments under the Paris Climate Agreement. And I really look forward to hearing from you all what you'd like to gain from engagement with the Biogas Subcommittee, the assistance and resources that you need in your country to help accomplish your goals, and to hear what other resources and information you can share with the GMI community to help other countries reduce methane emissions. So I look forward to our conversations today and to working with you all in the future. And I'd like to offer an opportunity to our other co-chairs from Canada and Argentina to say a few words as well.
Okay, we haven't discussed who's first, sorry. I'm Jorge Hilbert, I'm from Argentina. I've been involved in the GMIs for more than 13 years now, just from the beginning, sharing with different co-chairs of different countries and having a lot of work we have developed during those years. And now we are relaunching the subcommittee this year with different actions we want to propose to you to get, as Nicholas just said, how we can merge the actions of GMI with the NDCs and the commitments of each country. So everybody welcome to the Biogas Subcommittee.
And hi, everybody. I'm Matt Hamilton, so I'm from Canada. And I'd like to say as well, just to echo what Nick and Jorge were saying, that I think we're at a great point here in the development of GMI and where we could go next. There's a huge body of work that GMI has accomplished over the last many years, and now the question is, where do we go and how do we build on what we've created? I know one of the things I like about GMI is that we have a variety of countries involved at different stages in the development of biogas in those countries. So there's always something new to learn. There's always something you can take from one of the other partner countries that you can maybe bring back domestically and make use of. So I think I'm keen to get started on this next phase and think about how we can work well together and maybe ensure that what we're doing as a subcommittee is really, it's aiming at what we all collectively think is the right thing to be doing. So welcome, and I think let's get started.
Okay, well, thank you. Just to go over the agenda for today's call, we're going to start off with an introduction from Monica Shimomura, the director of the GMI Secretariat, to give a brief overview of the Global Methane Initiative. Turn the mic back over to myself to provide an overview of the global opportunity for biogas and the connection between biogas and the Paris Climate Agreement, methane and the Paris Climate Agreement, and GMI, and how our work fits in. Jorge Hilbert, our co-chair from Argentina, will provide an update of some of the ongoing tools and resources that GMI has developed. And to wrap things up, Matt Hamilton from Canada, our other co-chair, will provide an update on our subcommittee feedback effort and some of our goals for this upcoming year to work towards developing an action plan for the subcommittee. So with that, I'll turn it over to our Director of Secretariat, Monica Shimomura.
Thank you so much, Nick, and welcome everyone. It's great to be talking to the Biogas group, so thank you for the opportunity. I wanted to give a quick overview of what the Global Methane Initiative is, or GMI. It's an international public-private partnership, and we work to advance methane reductions cost-effectively and for climate purposes, as our co-chairs have mentioned. We look as an organization to reduce methane, looking at the different barriers that are in our 5 key sectors, which is oil and gas, coal mines, and then we have biogas, which has wastewater, agriculture, and municipal solid waste. And we look also to do technical capacity building. Just to give you a quick idea on the structure and how GMI is laid out, we have a steering committee, which acts as a board of directors. And you can see the Secretariat works to support the steering committee as well as the subcommittees. And on the right-hand side, you can see our 45 GMI partner countries, which are highlighted in orange. And we also work with a couple of international organizations, the Climate and Clean Air Coalition and the United Nations Economic Commission for Europe, which are our strategic partners. Next slide. This is just to show what we've done since 2004, the inception of GMI. We have done a lot, and it's a great organization to be a part of. We have worked on more than 750 projects. We have 750 project network members, which are our non-country members, private sectors, multilateral banks. We also have conducted over hundreds of assessments, feasibility studies, and study tours, and provided training for more than 17,000 people in methane mitigation, which is a great accomplishment. And if you look at our GHG, or greenhouse gas reduction numbers, we've reduced over 450 million metric tons. And to give you kind of an idea of what that is in scope, it's roughly about 45 billion gallons of gasoline consumed. So that's an equivalent. So it's a huge number. So again, it's a great honor to be a part of GMI, and I think we do great work. And I'm excited that we have this group on the phone today. I hand it back over to Nick.
Thank you, Monica.
Thank you.
These next few slides wanted to discuss the Paris Climate Agreement and give an update on where things are at, and then try to demonstrate the connection between biogas and GMI and our work to the Paris Climate Agreement. So just to kick things off, why methane is important. Methane is an extremely powerful greenhouse gas, about 28 times as powerful global warming potential as CO2. And there are a lot of great benefits from capturing and utilizing methane, from better air and water quality, improved human health, enhanced energy security, and of course the economic value that can come from capturing this resource that is many times wasted. So this is a map of all the countries that have signed on to the Paris Climate Agreement. As you can see, it's everyone. So Paris Climate Agreement set a target of reducing or limiting our global temperature increase to well below 2 degrees Celsius, with an effort to keep it at below 1.5 degrees Celsius. And 195 countries around the world have signed the agreement, including all of GMI partner countries. And the Paris Climate Agreement was signed back in 2016, and to date, 165 countries have submitted their first nationally determined contribution, which is commitments countries make to reducing their emissions. And countries are expected to submit updates to their NDCs that increase ambition and increase methane and greenhouse gas emissions every 5 years. So the latest updates are expected to be completed this November at COP26. This graphic here, we wanted to demonstrate just where we're at with meeting Paris Climate Agreement's decarbonization targets. And I'll walk you through some of the graphs here in case it's too small of the text to read. So the top big blue bar there is current policies. That's kind of where we're at right now, business as usual. The thinner blue line below that is countries' pledges and targets, NDCs. And the yellow and green lines at the bottom are the yellow is the 2 degree target, and the green is the 1.5 degree target. So what I want to point out is where we're at, those top two blue bars, and where we need to be is an enormous gap. So countries really need to increase their ambition over these next few years in order for us to meet our obligations under the Paris Climate Agreement and keep the world from warming to 2 degrees or 1.5 degrees Celsius. And methane and the GMI can play a critical role in reducing methane, and the GMI and working with the GMI can play a critical role in helping to meet our targets. GMI has 45 countries that are partners, part of the Global Methane Initiative, and hundreds of private sector organizations that are part of the Project Network and other multilateral partners that can all work together to help develop and disseminate technical expertise, tools, and resources, and to help countries meet their commitments under Paris. And methane is an extremely important gas to focus on in helping to reach our targets. Research indicates that without addressing short-lived climate pollutants like methane, we won't meet the targets under Paris. Our friends over at the Climate and Clean Air Coalition estimated that there's a potential for 40% methane reductions globally by 2030 through better agricultural practices and waste management and reduction in fossil fuel leakage. And this graph here on the right really demonstrates how methane is a part of the overall picture of greenhouse gases and why it's important to reduce them quickly. So the first bar there on the left is just business as usual. If we don't make any changes, our temperature globally will increase well over 3 degrees Celsius. The second bar there is early action on long-lived greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide. We'll just get below 3, but we won't meet our targets. The third bar is early action on just SLCPs. Again, we won't get there. And the last bar is early action on both SLCPs and long-lived greenhouse gases, which will help us to accomplish our goals under Paris. So it's really important not just to focus on CO2, but methane plays a critical role in helping to accomplish our targets. And where biogas fits in is an enormous opportunity for us globally. And there's a lot of low-hanging fruit in the biogas space to help meet our goals. Globally, the United States Environmental Protection Agency performed a study looking at anthropogenic non-CO2 emissions, and as we estimated that around 21% of anthropogenic methane emissions are from the biogas sector. That's from agriculture, municipal solid waste, and wastewater. And to meet our goals under Paris, countries have a real opportunity to identify those and try to reduce emissions in those sectors through their national energy and climate plans and through their NDCs. So for those of you that have a smartphone or can access this link here, we have a couple of questions throughout this presentation to get some engagement and get some feedback from you all. So if you could take I'll pass the mic over to Jamie to talk through how to access the questionnaire.
To participate, click the link that I just put in the chat pane. You can respond yes or no to the notification settings. You'll have the option to enter a username, or you can remain anonymous. Answer the question prompt that will show up on the screen, and then navigate back to Teams to see the results. If you need any assistance with this, please contact GMI's Secretariat at asg@globalmethane.org.
And it looks like we have a question from Andreas from Germany. Andreas, if you're able to unmute yourself, you can ask your question.
Yes, I'm unmuted. You hear me?
Yes, you can. Good morning or good afternoon, wherever you are at.
Good afternoon. I have 2 points which I would like to address. First of all, methane coming from natural resources like animals, ruminants, should be treated different to fossil resources. Perhaps we need a science-based workshop on that, how we can differentiate between natural resourced methane and fossil-based methane. Mm-hmm. The second point which I would like to address for this initiative, the Global Methane Initiative, methane coming from ruminants, perhaps resulting into biogas production. We in Germany actually have started a program to increase manure-based production of biogas up to 60%, now from 30% to 60%, with a big program, 60 million euro, going to farmers who want to change their biogas production from silage to manure. And so we have this program. But the second thing I would like to say is animal health is also a very important issue, because methane coming from non-healthy animals is more problematic than from healthy animals. So this is a climate issue to increase animal health. Perhaps these are topics which are not closely related to the Global Methane Initiative, but actually addressing our task.
Thank you for that feedback, Andreas. And there was a number of points you made, which I'm really excited to talk more with you about. You know, the need for a science-based workshop, I think is a great suggestion, and would love to talk with you more about some content that you think could be useful for that. And you know, GMI, we have the ability to put on these types of workshops, so that's something that we can work with you and your colleagues in Germany and other countries to help put on. So would love to follow up with you on that. And also really appreciative of your comments on animal health and its connection to methane emissions. And to be, you know, quite honest, I'm not as familiar with that, but it is an important issue, and would love to learn more from you. And if there's more information that you can share on that, and if you have ideas on how we can get on resources or ways we can get that information out to our members, that would be something we would love to take you up on.
Thank you very much. Another point which I would like to add is, if we have no ruminants, we have no use of grassland. And that is a very important issue, because grassland is a very important carbon sink. And we can increase this sink by having a good grassland management by ruminants. Okay, I know this is already quite far away from biogas, but it is related to that. Biogas is a result of ruminants producing manure, and we have to think about ruminants as a source of biogas, but also as a source of soil fertility. Soil fertility, for me, is a very important issue which we should address.
Another important issue, and the co-chairs and I have talked about trying to build out information resources on the full value of anaerobic digestion and biogas, and some of those, you know, connections between you know, soil health and grassland health certainly play a role in the bigger picture of especially agriculture, and how those animals are managed, and the management of land and reduction of emissions and those connections to that. So thank you. If everyone has had a chance, I'm not sure where folks are at with the poll. I will advance the slide to the first question. I think you should be able to see it if you were able to click on the poll. But the first question was trying to get a sense for where countries are at with strategies, targets, and NDCs to abate methane emissions from biogas sources. Does your country have plans or strategies to do so? So I will advance the next slide to see if the results have come in yet. Okay. Looks like about 3/4 of the folks on the call today do have strategy, and some folks have no formal strategy, and it's not currently a priority for them. So thank you for sharing that. And we have a few other questions throughout today's presentation that would love to get your feedback on as well. So to talk a little bit about GMI Biogas Tools and Resources, I'll pass it over to our co-chair from Argentina, Jorge.
Okay, hello. Okay, we're going to get into some of the resources we've been developing and spreading all over the world through GMI. Next, please, Nicholas. Okay. First of all, one of our channels of communications is our website, website. We've been refurbishing and modifying along the years to make it more friendly, more direct, to make more available all the tools and information we gather from different countries. And so to get easier access to those tools and those resources. So we invite you all to visit our website and give us our feedback or your feedback, about what we may improve, and also what contributions from your countries can get into this platform and be available to all the country members and to all the world. No, resembling the comments from Germany just now, I think just it's very important to highlight those types of programs, and as one mentioned, that shifting from commercial biogas production relying on corn, on silage, and so on, crop silage, into manual treatment. I think that's a good trend to highlight, and so many countries can shift and also change some policies. Sometimes they copy policy and they go into a path that some countries, as Germany, has gone through and now are changing. Next, please.
Little slow response, trying to.
Yeah,
There we go.
It's lazy today. Okay. Through the years, the EPA have developed several tools, and we also within the Biogas Subcommittee have developed some tools also. So in the last year, this has been all gathered together in the EPA Biogas Toolkit. We call it that way, as a web-based toolkit with 36 tools and resources to facilitate biogas project development. There is a roadmap for planning and implementing biogas projects, and the audience are project implementers, developers, financiers, policymakers, and so on. We try to highlight those tools that are very practical, and most of them are coming from the ACSTAR program. That's a big biogas program that EPA has in the United States, with very grounding and field work. Then you can go through this information platform now. The centralized locations for all use APA and GMI Biogas tools. You can put filters into categories and do guided search to help find the correct tool for what are you looking for. And the intent is for not only the US, but all the international audience, and by all knowledge levels. No? So there is also a risk analysis and technical review checklist for biogas projects. That's very important to guide when you are projecting new legislation or new actions in different countries. You can use this tool, and we always say this is a base, and we are very open to collaboration to improve these tools with a view from different countries. No.
And I'll just add a word on this. This resource is really beneficial for going through all of the best practices for developing biogas projects. We use this checklist in the United States to evaluate the potential for success for projects, and it can be useful for other countries as well too.
Yeah.
And looks, Andreas, do you have a question? I see your hand is
Yes.
up. I'm not sure if that was from.
Yes, it's again up.
Okay.
Sorry. Again, I'm afraid to repeat myself, but I think that we, as a global methane initiative, should really include all these side effects. Biogas is actually only a result of using manure, a proper use of manure, because we reduce methane emissions and produce some kind of residues which can be used for soil fertility. So we have to, it's just a recommendation, we have to increase our view into what is related to biogas. Biogas is a result of ruminants living on our world using grassland, which cannot be used by other animals, only by goats or sheep, but mainly cows. So I think what I would really recommend that we open our view and see how is biogas just one solution of making animal production, ruminants especially, more effective regarding climate protection. And in the end, I would see that cows are not a climate killer. They are actually some support for climate. And that could be probably a view for our global methane initiative, to see methane as an unavoidable effect of ruminants, but at the same time, something which is valuable for our climate.
Yes, one thing we have been discussing and implementing during last year with also the World Biogas Association and some workshops we've been participating. We call it unlocking the potential of biogas. No? So we are not only looking at the reduction of direct emissions of the methane that goes into the atmosphere, but all the indirect benefits that the use of residues, not only manure, but all types of residues that decompose and delivers methane. We are looking at all the world of digested use, as fertilizers, and the concept of biogas and right has been also taken by GMI in the last years, with the examples in Italy, and I'm happy now that Germany is shifting also in that direction. Okay, next one, please. Okay, this is the solid waste emission estimation tool called SWIL. It's an Excel-based tool for quantifying pollutant emissions from sources across the waste sector. So we must take in mind that our subcommittee now is gathering three previous subcommittees: wastewater, solid waste, municipal solid waste, and agriculture. So we have enlarged our vision, and this tool is specific for other types of residues that are quite important emitters in the world. No, this has been increasing use in the U.S. for more than 40 cities to date. Has been adopted by the ISWA for closing dump seating campaign. It has been incorporated into the United Nations Habitat Waste-Wise City Tools, and it's also used by WHO as part of the Urban Health Initiative. So it's a great tool covering one of the three aspects we are covering in our subcommittee now. Next, please. Okay, then coming soon, the Measurement, Reporting and Verification Handbook for Governments. You are known that this is a new era now of reporting, measurement and verification. This is also related to some tools that have been developed last year for soils that were mentioned during this call, how we can follow the evolution of them and the direct impact of this evolution in the emission of methane and the emission of greenhouse gases inventories as a whole. No, so I look forward that this is going to be an excellent tool. It's also I'm personally involved in certification of different agro-industrial products, and now we are entering a phase where MRV is used as a tool to put in the equation of emissions and as a result improve the carbon footprint of all the agro-industrial products. Next, please.
Looked like we had another question from Andreas.
No, I just wanted to support what has been said about monitoring, reporting, and verification. And I really recommend that we, from Germany, we have a so-called Thünen Institute, which is our research institute belonging to the Ministry of Agriculture, is deeply involved in reporting, that we get in close contact. So I just wanted to make this recognition how important this is. What we are doing regarding biogas has to be reported.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. And this resource is under development right now. We're putting together a draft, and we would welcome the subcommittee's effort in helping to review and helping to shape it. And so, Andreas, where we can connect with your colleagues there at the Ministry of Agriculture, that would be fantastic. Thank you. And so another question we'd like to ask you all is, does your country have tools or guidance or documents that for the development of biogas projects? So the Global Methane Initiative has a number of resources and tools available on our website, as Jorge pointed out, and we just went through a few. But we know that your countries also have resources that can contribute, and we would love to be able to add those or link to those resources so that other countries can access those resources as well too, and so that we can figure out where are some of the gaps in knowledge or information to help other countries meet their to help reduce emissions. So love for you to answer this question next. And Jamie, are we able to see how many folks answered here?
It looks like we have 5 people who have responded.
Okay, thanks. Okay, well, great. It looks like there are a lot of resources, so we would love to work with you all to connect, or like I said, link to those resources to help get that information out there. And certainly on the GMI doesn't have all of the information resources, so anything that you all can add would be greatly beneficial. So we'll look forward to following up with you on some of those resources as well too. Okay, I'll turn the microphone over to our co-chair from Canada, Matt Hamilton.
Thanks, Nick. So we've heard a lot this morning, or well, in the meeting so far. I was going to say this morning, but that's just for me. And the meeting so far about the high level, what are the goals under Paris, and how does methane fit in? And we've talked about some of the tools and products and things that the GMI has to offer. But now we want to turn to the next phase of our work as a subcommittee, and this idea of developing a collective vision of how we move forward together, so that we're working on things that we all sort of feel are to the benefit of our own countries and collective vision. So over the next couple of months, we'll be conducting a survey of all the country delegates. And our goals here are, well, again, to ensure that we're working toward collective interests and get those perspectives from each country. So learning more about what's happening in each country in terms of policies or programs and things like that, and share that back, with each other, and learn more about what your interests are, what your needs are, and different perspectives on how we can work to support them. Ultimately, that feedback will be rolled together and presented back to the subcommittee, so we can kind of reflect on who are we and how do we fit together. Next slide, please. So we'll begin the survey this month. You'll be receiving the survey by email, and you'll get some links to fill it in. And then over the course of April to June, we'll follow up with delegates individually to discuss the survey, make some of those personal connections that we unfortunately in the last year we didn't have a face-to-face meeting. I really missed that. So this is a bit of a way to try to reach out and form some stronger bonds within the group. And then in July, we'll have another subcommittee meeting where we'll summarize what we've learned and then work together, collaborate with you to develop a new action plan that reflects those collective goals and interests. In designing the survey, I will say too, we've tried to make questions that are answerable, but that are, that don't require all kinds of research and digging deep into information, but at the same time that the questions are meaningful and that we'll get some meaningful information from that. The next slide. So we have another question for you, and some of these questions, I would say, they appear in the survey in a form that's similar to this, but we just thought we'd ask some of them today to kind of get a feel for who was on the call and some early feedback. So the third question is, what are the fastest growing uses of biogas in your country? And so if you could switch to the survey and fill it out, there's a number of different options that are presented there. I believe you're able to rank them by using up and down arrows, so you could kind of rank them in terms of the most important uses, etc.
That's right.
Yes, in order to the arrows to appear, you have to click on one of the options and then they appear and you can use the arrows. It happened to me, that's why.
This one's a bit of a tricky one. It's a little harder than yes or no, so give people a minute to finish it.
And Matt, we have a hand up too. I don't know if you see there's a...
Oh, sure. Yes, Andreas.
Or maybe it was...
No. I raised my hand again. I would really say very valuable, the information I get from you, but probably I repeat myself. We have to include our initiative on global methane initiative into food security. Probably it will make us more visible if we say methane is an unavoidable effect of ruminants, but we need them because they use grassland and they are a very important resource of food for the world. Probably, I think this could be the first part of our collective vision. Methane is unavoidable, the natural methane. I don't talk about fossil methane. I talk about natural methane coming from animals, mainly ruminants, of course, and why these ruminants are unavoidable and we need them for food security. So just a recommendation for the collective vision.
Yeah, thanks for that. And I know, like on a personal level, what you're saying resonates with me. We've talked, as the other co-chairs have mentioned, we've talked about this idea of like, how do we make sure that we're getting the full value out of the biogas production chain, and so that includes the digest state and the soil health implications there. But on the broader perspective, like I can say Canada, we've developed a food policy for Canada, and some of those, it's a really wide-ranging policy framework. So it covers all kinds of things, like whether it's about food security and the production side of things, to food waste, to other kinds of issues, the greenhouse gas, the environmental implications. And it is wrestling with this juxtaposition of, the importance of ruminant animals as a food source, and their, the ability to improve grasslands, combined with management and proper management of manure and these kinds of things. So I do think what you're talking about is it's something that a lot of countries are likely wrestling with. That these are not separate things. This biogas is not separate from agriculture. It's integrated, and so I'm looking forward to hearing some of the perspectives from some of the other partner countries on that. And I think some of the questions in the survey, maybe they don't get at what you're talking about directly, but there's an opportunity to provide that kind of information. So you'll be able to say, okay, look, just to your point, like if you feel there should be a linkage made between something else, you can express that in the survey. And then, as I say, we'll see what others are saying as well, and then we'll move from there. There's another hand up.
It's still me.
Okay.
May I respond? I think we have two climate sectors. One is agriculture, the other one is land use change, and forestry. And as we know, land use change, and forestry, LULUCF, is a sink, actually, mostly in all countries of the world. We have to increase that. That is a solution for climate protection. And I see methane as an emission in the agricultural sector is related to soil fertility in the LULUCF sector. So I see this as a very important issue, and I especially think that Ireland or New Zealand, which have a lot of grassland and a lot of cows, would be very engaged in that. How can we reduce agricultural emissions by increasing LULUCF carbon storage? So I think this is the most important issue in our issue. Biogas production from manure is actually a solution, a result. What can we do? We have unavoidable manure, which we should use most appropriate for climate protection. And biogas, as we do in Germany, as I said, we want to increase biogas production from manure-based resources up to 60%, which is really a big ambition. But I think this is the right way to go. We solve a problem. We have this production of methane unavoidable by ruminants, and we can reduce the effects by producing biogas and using the energy from biogas on methane or electricity.
Matt,
Yeah.
we have another hand up too. Just want to make sure you see the
Yes,
second
okay.
hand.
Sure. So let's see, is that Arkan?
Yes, it's me.
Yes, please go ahead.
Hello, hi.
Hi.
It's Professor Osman Arkan from Istanbul, Turkey. Hi, folks. It's very nice to join your meeting. I just would like to say, like the recent change in Turkey for landfill gas use. Actually, we have a feed-in tariff in Turkey, if you produce electricity from biogas and biomass, the government provides you like 13.3 US dollar cent per kilowatt hour, which is actually a very good price. So for this reason, I mean, recently, I would say probably last 5-10 years, there have been many landfill gas to energy projects. In addition, recently we also see more like biomethanization or anaerobic digestion facilities. But I think in January, the government changed the rate. They decreased, and they also provided different rate for like landfill gas to energy and like anaerobic digestion. So now they don't actually support like landfills, so that they reduced landfill gas use a little more, but they still have some rate for anaerobic digestion facilities. Okay, I just wanted to share this information with you.
Great, that's great. Thanks for sharing that. And I'm glad to hear that that this is something, you know, that's progressing in your country, and there are some policies in place that are helping enable that. I think that's the kind of thing that we want to hear about, is those variety of perspectives and the variety of experience across the different partner countries. And I think what we'll find is that, you know, it's just my suspicion, but what we'll find is that there's no, you know, specific one size fits all pathway to this, that it really depends on a lot of local factors. But there are common things, you know, there are common areas of interest, there are common problems that we'll be able to uncover and hopefully work together on. So thanks for sharing. Andreas, I see you've got another comment.
Sorry, again. I just want to share some experience. I've been working in Russia for a long time and was developing biogas utilities in Russia, which is difficult because gas is very cheap there. But why should we use biogas on agricultural holdings, which sometimes have 200,000 hectares, really big? But in Russia, there's a problem. They never used organic residues for soil fertilization, which leads to the problem that even these black soils, which are really fertile, are not really productive because they are missing organic residues. So the reason for these biogas utilities was that from this biogas production, you get residues which you can separate and then dry and then make pellets of that and then use for fertilization of these soils, which are actually fertile, but they are missing organic materials, which have to be used because they are not fertile anymore if you only use mineral fertilizers. So this is just one addition which I would recommend, to use the residues from biogas production for soil fertilization.
Yeah, thanks for that, and certainly no need to apologize for. We love the interaction, so thanks for sharing. I would say too, like in my experience with working with a few other countries on the same topic, I hear the same sorts of things, that locally, depending on the situation, they don't value the organic matter. You know, the idea that it can be this soil amendment, that what it can do. There's more value placed on the energy side of things. And I find that interesting, but also a missed opportunity in all likelihood. And no, I certainly, because I know in those countries that I'm talking about, they're still relying on chemical fertilizers and other things like that. So it's not as though they don't need the nutrient addition. But for different reasons, it doesn't seem to be happening. And I think in Canada, you know, like I would say, it's there's a lot of it practiced, but there's a lot of missed opportunities as well. So yeah, it'd be nice to hear, you know, again, different perspectives on that kind of thing, because we are keen to understand how to unlock the full value of this chain of, you know, organic or different waste management approaches, and how we can, you know, unlock the benefits there. So thank you for that. And so I see the results are up. So it's quite interesting. For first place we see is electricity generation, and then renewable natural gas and direct use are sort of the top 3 uses. So interesting to see the differences there. It'll be interesting as well to see the proportional, like as we see the larger survey, how that might change depending on which group of people that we're surveying, or how the size of the group. So thank you for that. We have a 4th and final question, which I'd encourage you to participate in. So, and this question is somewhat open-ended. It's really looking at what would you like to gain from participation in the subcommittee, and so this is like kind of an open-ended question in a way, because it really GMI, we've done all kinds of different, we do all kinds of different things. We bring people together and share ideas and do workshops and training things. We produce tools and guidance. We promote the benefits of methane reduction. So there's a lot of different ways that we can work together, but we'd like to know from you, what do you think you could gain? So if you could go to the survey. And you'll see we've given some different questions, or different options there. But of course, there's an other category, so you can share if there was something that's not showing up there, you can click other. And also, I would say too, just to add, you can click on more than one option, so you can select all that apply. So great. So there's quite a variety of answers selected. And this is not a ranked question. I think many of these things link together, but at the same time, we see so a variety of interests basically expressed here. We're not sort of honing in on just one area of interest. So that's good to know. And as I say, it'll be interesting to see how this varies from when we get the bigger picture from all representatives. But just to say that it seems that there's a lot of areas that we can work on together. So thanks for that.
Thanks, Matt. We just have a few minutes left. I just want to go through a couple of the last slides before we finish, and we can have some discussion at the end for those that would like to stay on. So as Matt mentioned, there are a number of ways that folks can engage with the Global Methane Initiative, whether it's hosting or chairing an event or meeting. Andreas, a lot of things we talked about, that could be a great opportunity for Germany and some of your colleagues to help with those discussions. As we've discussed today, contributing to the survey and developing an action plan, and then just continuing to share information and collaborating on research and tool and resource development. We really there's a number of ways that we can engage with everyone on the subcommittee. And an event that we'd like to just point out that is being organized by the GMI Secretariat is our virtual event this summer, scheduled for June 3rd. It's really a global call for action on methane mitigation, and we're going to be having a few keynote speeches from some pretty high-level representatives just to talk about policies to achieve our goals and opportunities for reducing methane emissions, and really to help raise awareness among country partners on methane and the opportunities in not just biogas, but all of these sectors for methane. And these slides will be available, but if you'd like to reach out to any of the co-chairs, here's our contact information. And want to just thank everyone for joining the subcommittee meeting today. I thought we had some really great discussion, and appreciate your answers on some of those questions, and the co-chairs and I will be following up with the survey to get your feedback on how to develop a collective vision and to move the biogas subcommittee forward so that it meets all of your needs and interests. And so thank you. And if there's any comments or questions, I'm happy to stay on for a few extra minutes as well too. And it looks like Andreas has his hand up.
Yes, again, but now I'm coming to a different point about artificial intelligence. We have a project in Germany, how to control biogas utilities that they produce the most energy when other energies are not available. For example, if it's dark, if there's no wind. So renewable energy from biogas can contribute to the energy system just at time when energy is needed. That makes biogas energy production profitable, because otherwise it's too expensive. So this is an issue which I would like to include in our discussions. How can we use digitalization to make biogas production more viable, more profitable, and competitive with other renewable sources?
Thanks, Andreas. That is a great point, something that I think about when I think about energy production in the U.S. Just the base load energy is how I kind of frame it up, talking about biogas. It's available 24/7, unlike other renewables and other sources. And that's something that certainly, yes, we can and should build up in our communication materials on for biogas. So thank you.
Yes, from my part, it's been very interesting to having such a feedback during the whole meeting from you, and we look forward to continue working with you all and enlarging the participation in the subcommittee. Thank you.
Yes, thanks everybody for participating, and thank you in advance for completing the survey. Just one last little bit of information about the survey. I don't think I mentioned that it is divided into sections. So you'll see there's a piece on agriculture, there's a piece on wastewater, and a piece on the waste management sector. So you may find that within your country, there's different experts that you may want to tap into to help answer the survey, or you may find that you're able to do that all on your own. But just to give you that heads up, that's what you can expect. Little last reminder. Thanks everybody. Thanks very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you also.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.